All right, we're back. Welcome. It's Tuesday, May 18th. Let's go ahead and go over to the KUM News Zoom room. I don't know what the protocol is, guys, but we do have Kevin Bautista for the CNMI Governor's Office in the KUM News Zoom room because they have got their American Rescue Plan funding already. Yep. Congratulations, Kevin. Don't.
Thanks, guys, and good morning and half a day, everyone.
Good morning.
Half a day, Guam.
$481.8 million.
Wow. How's that cup of coffee this morning?
I'm just trying to wake up right now.
He slept good last night.
Yeah, they're celebrating.
You're making everybody in government work overtime this morning. You had DOA on at like 7 in the morning. You got Kev here.
So, Kevin, just take us to because just full disclosure, we don't know if we got our money yet. We asked Ed Byrne. He said we're going to check they're going to check this morning.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. I checked Crystal.
Right. Yeah. I guess we don't have the online banking thing. You would think.
No, we do.
You get a little ping notification oh damn, we got $553 million deposit. So when did you guys find out you got the money?
So we received notification from the U.S. Treasury that the money is in our coffers. Yesterday afternoon, Secretary of Finance David Atzelik gave me a call. He informed the governor about 30 minutes prior, and then I worked with the governor and lieutenant governor to put out the announcement. And we're excited. The governor announcing that we just received $481,876,521, which is our specific allocation to CNMI from ARPA 2021 for our local government. And we submitted our drawdown request last Tuesday immediately when Treasury announced the beginning of the implementation and start of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds under the ARPA. So we wanted to work expeditiously once we got the green light, so to speak, from Treasury, and now the money's here, and the CNMI is locked and loaded right now. We've been preparing for this for months, since the enactment of the ARPA. Actually, since the ARPA was in Congress, actually, and then we started working with our federal partners, trying to understand what we can and can't do with the money. And as the governor mentioned last night on KSPN, we want to do this right. We want to be able to report this transparently with our people and our community. We want to be able to work transparently with our co-equal branches of government, legislature, leadership, and our judiciary. And we're keeping all of our departments and agencies locked in, making sure that we provide any sort of justification for the funding, and making sure that our projects and initiatives, especially funding that's going to be replenishing a lot of the lost revenue we've lost over the last several years, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the typhoon season of 2018. This is an opportunity we are going to take full advantage of for our people.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the drawdown request was submitted to the Treasury last week. Is that as a result of the guidance that was issued? Just wanted clarification on that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So Treasury announced the guidance, the fact sheet on May 10th. We submitted our plan or our drawdown request on May 11th, tomorrow standard time, local time, for the funding that's been allocated to the CNMI, which is based on our population and as well as being divvied up equally among the territories.
Right. That drawdown request, was that a requirement, and what exactly is that?
So the drawdown request is pretty much just a formal request for funding. Mm-hmm. It's different from a spending plan. So the spending plan itself it does need to include Treasury review and of course adherence to guidance as mandated by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. But we're going to be working closely as well with our local government branches and our agencies to also ensure that we identify our needs. We have a spending plan that is pretty much complete. The governor will be meeting with the legislature leadership this week to fully flesh this out, especially since the money is now here on island, here on Saipan. And we'll be locked and loaded, making sure that we can not only replenish government revenue, but also ensure that we keep people, our government employees, at 80 hours per pay period, and ensuring that our COVID-19 response remains successful and proactive, keeping our case count low, which is still under 200 cases as of May 18, 2021, and as well as having the ability to meet our other obligations. The governor and lieutenant governor have also made sure that we have the ability to also ensure the 100% payment of our retirees' pensions here in CNMI, which is a critical priority for the government and the LT. And we're looking forward to expanding on this opportunity, which is not just going to be about replenishing the government, but also providing direct assistance to our people, which is also a critical component of our plan.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So when are you guys planning to submit this spending plan to Treasury? And that is mandatory, that's a requirement also?
So the spending plan will always be in concurrence with the Treasury, but because the funding has already been received by since the drawdown request has already been received, funding is already here. We're now going to be implementing parts of our spending plan
Right.
now.
So what's the first part of the spending plan that's going to be implemented?
So among the things that we're focusing on is ensuring that we replenish a lot of the lost government revenue we've lost during the pandemic. Lost a critical part of it due to the loss of tourism, which of course is what Guam is dealing with as well. And be able to also bring back a lot of our furloughed employees. A lot of them have returned actually to our various departments and agencies. We've had to furlough close to about 400 to 500 employees because of this critical loss of revenue. Most of them have returned. So now the goal is about keeping our government employees on both, on the executive branch side, the legislature branch and the judicial branch, as well as our autonomous agencies, to ensure that they'll be able to have an 80-hour pay period paycheck every 2 weeks. And then as well as reimbursing a lot of the necessary costs that we've incurred during the COVID-19 response, the ongoing response that we've been doing, especially our quarantine process, our testing process, and our vaccination costs associated with our response.
Mm-hmm. So how much are you guys planning to use for revenue loss?
So the Secretary of Finance has calculated our revenue loss to be about close to 200 million for this fiscal year. That was our 2019 number prior to the pandemic. So we've matched that up. We've brought budget levels. We've brought our spending plan to the budget level of 2019, where we were before the pandemic, and focusing on making sure that we can maximize both the government services that we provided before the pandemic, as well as government salaries, government employees returning back to work with the infusion of the fund.
So that's almost half, right, of the ARP money. What's the other, I guess, big chunk of what this money is going to be used for?
The funding will also be used for many of the Tourist Watch Administration's priorities for all three islands. Among these include the expansion and enhancement of our tourism industry. We understand that beyond the pandemic, we also need to be able to continue to diversify our economy. And I think the pandemic really showed us that as an island economy, we're locked in making sure that we continue to enhance our tourism destination. Governor Torres has constantly been out there in our community talking about the concept of making the CNMI a world-class destination. We're building on our 55 public-private partnerships that we've developed over the course of the pandemic through our Council of Economic Advisors. So among the funding priorities outside of the government revenue includes enhancement of tourism on Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, as well as also the expansion of industries on Tinian and Rota itself. The governor has identified farming as an industry priority for Rota, and the cattle industry as a industry for Tinian. So those two industries will continue to be supported by the administration through the infusion of the ARPA funds that we received.
Wow.
So how much in tourism? How much money will go to the expansion of tourism?
I don't have the exact numbers, Brie, on tourism. I can get back to you on that. But when it comes to tourism, a lot of the money will be focused on marketing to our source markets. That will include, of course, South Korea and Japan. Speaking of South Korea, our travel bubble has us welcoming South Korean tourists in June, which includes various government officials coming in June, which is a big deal for us because we want to be able to continue to build on that partnership that we've developed over the course of the pandemic and through the ongoing discussions between the governor, our Marianas Visitors Authority, our Commonwealth Ports Authority, to reopen tourism in a safe way. And given what we're seeing around us in conversation with our Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, given what we're seeing around us, spikes in cases in various areas around the Pacific, we want to be able to do this in the right way and not jump the gun. We've set June as a date for the reopening, but we've also targeted July as a projected date for when we may be able to reach herd immunity here in the CNMI. So that's something that we're looking forward to and continue to prioritize the public health of our people while also making sure that we can continue to rebuild our economy and move forward.
Right.
I remember, we had been talking to you about the whole reopening of tourism, and there was an agreement you guys were hoping to sign with South Korea. Was that agreement ever signed?
I wouldn't go so far as a formal agreement. It's more from discussions that we've had with the Ministry of Land and Transport on reopening tourism slowly, especially for folks that on Korea that are slowly getting vaccinated. Obviously, countries around the world are not getting vaccinated in the rate that the U.S. is right now. Yeah. That speaks to us being fortunate members of the U.S. American political family, but at the same time too, we also want to be able to work with our partners in South Korea to bring over tourists who have been vaccinated, and that we can do this travel bubble in the safest way possible.
Mm-hmm. How many, tourists and dignitaries are coming in June?
We don't have a definitive number yet. Mm-hmm. We do have the interest, and I actually asked our tourism authority, our MBA, Marianas Visitors Authority, to for the numbers yesterday, but I wasn't able to get it. But then I'll be following up on them with them on this, and the numbers will start to be much more solidified as the arrival date comes here, and we're aiming for mid-June at this point.
We had a travel question here from DZ Kev. Please ask Kevin about travelers coming from Guam to adults that are fully vaccinated with 4 kids under the age of 12 years old. Requirements to provide upon arrival into Saipan.
That's a great question. So, as you both know, we released a press release on Saturday announcing updated quarantine protocols for the CNMI, for folks who have been fully vaccinated, as well as comments from our public health officials about the new CDC guidance regarding masks. So now I'll get to that second part in a little bit. But then for our quarantine protocols, effective yesterday, May 17th, fully vaccinated travelers coming from level 1 jurisdictions under the CDC travel health notice list do not have to quarantine in any form after providing verifiable vaccination documentation from the respective health department or health provider. But to answer specifically on the question on Guam, Guam unfortunately is still on level 3, I believe, on the health notice list. So fully vaccinated travelers from jurisdictions other than level 1 can apply to quarantine at their lodging or home after being verified for completing their COVID-19 vaccination and passing a lodging or household assessment. So this includes also the traveler having to also upload a verifiable document such as their vaccination card onto our website, our travel form that we've been using throughout the course of the pandemic.
You cold, Kevin?
So it's just the CDC card, right? Is this just the CDC card? That's good. We don't have to have what we have here, the secondary vaccination verification.
It could be any verifiable vaccination document as deemed, as provided by the state or local public health department. CHC has made it clear they're not going to be in the business of contacting every single health department for every single traveler. There will be, of course, with Guam, there will be, of course, a special, given our special relationship, we're going to be going back and forth with DPHSS on this. But then for a traveler, ideally we'd like them to upload some sort of verifiable document that says that they're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, before they can come here to the CNMI, and then be able to skip the quarantine, and then they'll be able to be quarantined at their lodging or a relative's home, and but then again they'll still be tested upon arrival and tested on the 5th day after they.
Kev, so when they quarantine at the lodging or a relative's house, are they required to stay home?
Yes, that'll be the quarantine for 5 days. Yeah, okay. So pretty much like a home quarantine.
Right. Okay, so Dizia, since Guam is a level 3 jurisdiction, yes, you're going to home quarantine. If the lodging passes, and you guys are, when you're inspecting the lodging in the relative's house, you're making sure that there's like separate areas to adequately isolate the quarantined individuals. Yes, I don't have the specific details of how our task force is going to be implementing the lodging outside of our government facilities, our quarantine facilities. But we'll be able to work with our hotel partners to ensure that travelers coming in from areas outside of level 1 jurisdictions are safely quarantined within their hotels or a relative's home.
Do you guys still have that entrance fee?
The entrance fee still remains in effect. We are considering moving that out for non-residents, especially as we reopen tourism. So I can give you an update on that once I get something much more definitive.
What is it?
It's still $400 for non-residents, as it's been throughout the course of the pandemic.
That's it. We got to do that. We got to pay $400 just for just coming here just to eat our food and avail of. Because CNMI, you pay $400 and then you get blueberry bread, right? All right, Kev. So, guys,
when you guys finish the spending plan, can we get a copy,
please?
Yes, for sure. We will definitely send you guys a copy once we have that formalized. I've been into I was in an extensive phone call with our Secretary of Finance yesterday. It was a very good discussion. It obviously included the drafting of the press release, but then I did request for a copy of the spending plan once we are able to fully share it with the legislature leadership and the judiciary. And moving forward, we should be able to communicate transparently about what we'll be doing with this.
Awesome.
Okay. Right on, Kev. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
See
as always. This
there you go.
Take care.
There you go.